Hey, what's up, guys? Hope you're doing well. It's an exciting Friday for me because tomorrow is Saturday, and on Saturday, my wife and I head out to the Elms. It's a resort outside of Kansas City. We've never been there, but looking forward to it. Just a little marriage retreat, little one-on-one getaway for 36 hours or so. Super pumped to get to spend some quality time with Boo Bear. Now that I think about it, I maybe I'm not supposed to call her that in public, so sorry. No one tell her about this video, okay? To date, fun fact, she has not watched any of my YouTube videos. I mean, she's missing out, guys. Just kidding. She knows all the stories, so it'd be a waste of time. But I bet she'll watch one before the end of the year. I bet we'll get her. One of those thumbnails will just be too interesting. But here's a story I wanted to share. One way that God has delivered me, healed me, you could say. And that is with reading. Growing up, I hated reading. Enough to the point where I didn't do it. Ever. For any reason. I have already told y'all how one of my biggest idols in life was success and money. I loved money. Here's how much I hated reading. One time, I was probably like around 3rd grade, 4th grade. My parents offered to pay me $1, which I'm like, they never paid me for anything. We didn't have an allowance growing up or anything like that. I'm like, you're about to pay me $1? What do I have to do? They said, all you have to do is read this book. And they hand me a picture book. I mean, it's a little kid book. 1 sentence per page, probably 12 pages. That's it. And I'm like, yeah, for sure, bet. I'm definitely doing this. And so I do it. I start the book, and they're in the room. They're watching me, and I don't read it. What I do is, how about this? I'll look at the pictures a little bit, and then I'll move my eyes over the words, because I know they're watching me. If I move my eyes over the words, then they'll probably think that I'm reading it, but I'm actually not, because I hate reading. And so that's what I do. I pretend to read, get to the end of the book, 12 pages later, about 60 seconds has gone by or something like that, maybe 3 minutes, I don't know. Did it. Give me my $1. Come on, pay up. And my parents say, well, great, just tell us, what was it about? And I'm like, oh no, my parents are about to win this battle here. And I'm like, well, like bugs, and I'm just like talking about the pictures, but you could not tell based on the pictures what actually happened. And so they called my bluff. They're like, did you seriously just lie to our face? I'm like, yes. And I did not get that $1, guys. The point of that story is not to talk about my lying problem of the past, but to talk about my reading problem. I hated reading. Couldn't do it. I remember opening one of the Harry Potter books, and I did not finish the first paragraph. I was like, yeah, no, sorry. I get it. People are talking about this at school, but there's no chance I'm reading this thing. Boring. And I couldn't do it. It hurt my head. I would have headaches. I was just distracted. I just didn't find it interesting. And if any of y'all know ADHD, you know that the willpower to do something that you don't find any level of interest in and are not stimulated by in any way, it is very, very hard. Borderline based, effectively impossible, practically speaking. The only way would be to take drugs or to add all sorts of artificial stimulants that make it interesting. You know, like after every paragraph you get to eat a piece of chocolate or something like that, you know, so you're motivated by something. You're tricking yourself to do the thing you don't want to do by attaching it to something you do want, you know. And you would just have to do it a lot. Anyways, I couldn't stand reading. Guess what, guys? Now I read sometimes. I like to read. Since having kids, it's been hard to actually consistently read. And so anyways, the reading problem, all growing up, like elementary school, never read a book. Middle school, I did read 1 or 2 books for book reports. We had a book report every quarter, junior or 7th grade year and 8th grade year, and I know at least 1 book, maybe 2, I read. All the others I just, you know, spark notes and lied and stuff. High school, I did not read a book for the longest time. I'm not sure if I read any in high school. I might have just skimmed and found keywords and topic sentences. There might have been. I read most of Into the Wild. So there were a couple school assignments that I read, but I still only associated it with, like, reading was just for studying, for school. In college, I started actually enjoying reading some and read like multiple books, especially out of college. But in college too, I was like, I read books about leadership, books about faith, books about business, and I could not get paid to do that growing up. And all of a sudden I started finding interest and value in the things I was learning once I was reading about things that I cared about. And I was a little bit older, and so my ADHD probably wasn't quite as off the wall as it would be for a 12-year-old or 8-year-old. But I'm just so thankful that I read now, and that I have read, at least a few dozen books. Nothing crazy impressive, but I've gotten awesome stuff from it. It's been super helpful, and I'm just so thankful that I don't have to live my whole life not reading anything. If you include the articles and stuff that I've read, if we're including articles and research papers, it's like I've read, guys. I've read. But mainly, hey, I don't know if it's super connected to following God, but I give God the credit. And ultimately, the thing I've read the most about is God and faith. And in college is when I started walking with the Lord more clearly. I started sophomore year of high school, didn't really know what He was like very much, and college was like super transformative for me. Just learning about God and what He's like, and getting so much spiritual hunger and a big spiritual appetite. And that is what drove me into reading. The first dozen or 2 dozen books I've read at least were all just Christian content, But man, I want to learn about blank. I want to learn about this. I want to read this book full of testimonies of cool things God's done. I want to read this book about intercession. I want to read this book about how to follow God, and that opened up then later on reading books about other topics too that I found interesting. But it was the hunger for God that triggered the appetite to read for my own gain and for my own pleasure. I still don't read fiction books. I'm not into it. Sorry, Chronicles of Narnia. I've heard that line is an inspirational figure. Lord of the Rings, yep. Nope. Can't do it. Not interested. One day maybe. I'm not really praying for it, but it's possible. But nonfiction content on topics that I find valuable and I think are going to be enriching for me, I'll read that. I'll dog ear some pages, we'll underline some stuff. I write book reviews sometimes. I'm a changed man, guys. I'm a changed man. It's the power of transformation. Boom, boom. If you know what I mean. That's all I got for y'all today. Life is worship. God is love.